National Policy on Education 1968 that introduced three language formula. And what was that formula? Let's try to understand, because this is different from NEP 2020. Now, it emphasized the study of Hindi, English and modern Indian language, preferably one of the southern language in Hindi speaking states and Hindi, English and regional language in non-Hindi speaking state. Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IS. Three language formula was recently in news because of a certain controversy. What was the controversy? Yes, Tamil Nadu state government was opposing the imposition of this three language formula through NEP 2020, which is somehow attaching the funds disbursement related to Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan to this state. So let's try to understand this particular, let's say, controversy. What is it about, the details, all these provisions of NEP, and it is relevant to our GS2 paper, Polity and Governance, as well as essay paper. Okay, so first of all, what is the controversy? This is the, let's say, index of content that we will discuss in the following few minutes. So why it is in news, what is the three language formula, and what is the history behind this three language formula and the controversy. What does NEP 2020 state about the languages, let's say, be it language of communication or what kind of languages are to be taught in the classroom? Why is the three language policy controversial? The analysis that we will do here, as well as the student and the three language debate. In the end, we will try to understand from the student perspective also. So first of all, why it is in news? Let's try to understand this context. Yes. It was in news because union government has withheld this much amount of funds due to Tamil Nadu under the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan scheme for refusing to join the PM Shri, that is Prime Minister Schools for Rising India initiative under this particular scheme. Now, let's try to understand why this, let's say, funds are stopped. Why? Because central government has come up with this policy, NEP 2020, and it says that for the, let's say, betterment of uniformity of education throughout the country, there should be implementation of that policy in all states and union territories. And that's why it is linking the funds that it disperses through centrally sponsored schemes, such as this one, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, wherein 60% let's say is borne out by the central government and 40% by the state government, the funds, division of funds. So these are tied to the implementation by these states and union territories. Now, while Tamil Nadu is eager to participate in PM Shri scheme, it staunchly opposes the accompanying mandate to implement the National Education Policy 2020 and its three language formula. And that's why it is in news. You have understood the context. Now let's try to understand what is three language formula. The origin of three language formula lies in the National Policy on Education 1968, when there was a Kothari Commission and later on this particular policy was drafted. It introduced the three language formula. Now let's try to understand the three language formula. In India, prominent languages that we have after independence are promoted for education purpose is first of all English. Then we can say majority of the speakers, or we can say language for communication that is used in the country is Hindi. And thereafter we can say any one regional language can be taught in the schools as a third language. So we can say that this is how the three language formula emerged. And yes, it was supposed to be implemented till the elementary level or school education, we can say that, and it was introduced by that National Policy on Education 1968. So in general, you should understand this. Now, the bilingual or two language policy that Tamil Nadu follows is related to, we can say, languages of English and Tamil language. It does not want to introduce the third language as a part of compulsion or compulsory language in the curriculum of Tamil Nadu schools. Why? Because somehow the regional language, that the third point here it is talking, okay, that regional language is already a Tamil one, but this one, It does not want to, let's say, impose that Hindi language, because there is some kind of history in the Tamil Nadu state regarding, we can say that cultural aspect or linguistic aspect. Let's try to understand what is the history behind three language formula controversy. So in 1937, there were provincial governments at that time after 1935 Act. Okay, when C. Rajagopalachari or Rajaji we call him, government in Madras province proposed making Hindi a compulsory subject in secondary schools. The Justice Party at that time fiercely opposed it. There were demonstrations, and that was, let's say, the decision was withdrawn by the then provincial government. Later on, National Policy on Education 1968 that introduced three language formula. And what was that formula? Let's try to understand, because this is different from NEP 2020. Now, it emphasized the study of Hindi, English and modern Indian language, preferably one of the southern language in Hindi speaking states, and Hindi, English and regional language in non-Hindi speaking state. So you can see here that somehow in the non-Hindi speaking states, especially southern states, Hindi was supposed to be one of the language. While in the northern states, or we can say Hindi heart, let's say belt, we can say where Hindi is already there, English is there, and modern Indian language, preferably one of the southern language. Now preferably means there is option, of course, and that with that option, of course, there are the different languages including Sanskrit. Somehow Hindi and other different North Indian languages, they have origin from the Sanskrit. Right. So, but the southern or South Indian languages, Dravidian languages, they are somehow different. Their origin is different, especially Tamil. Right. So, it was considered as a kind of imposition of Hindi on the southern states, or we can say that. In January 1968, the Madras Assembly led by C.N. Annadurai led first DMK government adopted resolution calling for scrapping of this three language formula and elimination of Hindi as compulsion from the, let's say, curriculum in Tamil Nadu schools. Since then, the state has, let's say, followed two language policy teaching Tamil and English. Now, this is the history behind this controversy, we can say that. You should know that Tamil Nadu has been staunchly opposing any kind of promotion of Hindi language by this, let's say, central government. For example, when there was official language act was, let's say, being introduced in 1960s, there were several severe demonstrations, and let's say a lot of, we can say that people died in those demonstrations in 1960s opposing that particular imposition of Hindi, even in the official communication. And this is how in education also there was, let's say, opposition, and that is still being continued even today. Now let's try to understand what NEP 2020 is having the change stance than the earlier one. Okay, so 1968 policy, later on we can say that revised 20 years later, 1988, and thereafter now we have 2020 policy. But 1988 policy was having same wording of 1968 policy, but 2020 somehow deviates from that wording and provides more flexibility to states to adopt that three language formula. So what it says, wherever possible, the medium of instruction until at least grade 5, preferably till grade 8 and beyond, will be home language or mother tongue, local or regional language. So it is promoting the regional language, mother tongue. Thereafter, the home language shall continue to be taught as language wherever it is possible, and this will be followed by both public and private schools. So it is a kind of, we can say that, a promotion of regional languages and, let's say, learning in the mother tongue. Now, there will be greater flexibility in three language formula, and no language will be imposed on any state. Now, earlier you can see that in southern states, Hindi, English and one of the regional language was being imposed. So somehow Hindi was compulsory. So this is not being stated here in NEP 2020. Now, the three languages learned by children will be the choices of states, regions and the course the students themselves. Of course, the students themselves. So long as at least two of them are native to India. That means out of these three languages, two must be native to India. So it should be except English. Or we can say that if we are choosing English, then other two are supposed to be native to India. It can be Hindi and Sanskrit, it can be Marathi and Hindi, it can be Tamil and Hindi, or it can be Tamil and Telugu also, or Tamil or Malayalam, Tamil or Kannada. Right. So Indian languages or classical languages, any kind of language, Indian language, or those mentioned in the 8th schedule, that is 22 languages that are mentioned in 8th schedule. ठीक है, तो वो भी languages में पढ़ाया जाएगा. Okay, Sanskrit will be offered at all levels of school and higher education as an important enriching option to the students, including option in the 3 language formula. So somehow this is also one of the factor that is being argued, that through backdoor entry Sanskrit and Hindi are being, let's say, imposed. We'll discuss this, we'll analyze how it is, let's say, problematic also in terms of, let's say, education of students. Now let's try to understand and analyze this particular issue. First of all, you should know Tamil Nadu has been following the 2 language policy in school, that is English and Tamil language. At the same time, you should understand this has helped the Tamil Nadu state in terms of educational indicators. Tamil Nadu, with its long-standing 2 language policy, has consistently outperformed many other states in key metrics such as gross enrollment ratio, or we can say reduced dropout rates. So the social indicators, education indicators in Tamil Nadu in terms of school education are good, even if they are not following the 3 language formula. Second thing, NEP 2020 offers greater flexibility and technically not imposing any specific language on any state. That means in addition to the state's language, children would be required to learn at least one other Indian language and not necessarily Hindi. So Tamil Nadu government can introduce other languages in the southern states wherein there is more of, let's say, people, let's say, move from Chennai to Bangalore for work, or to Kochi, or from, let's say, Kerala to Bangalore, Kerala to Chennai. So they can introduce their languages, right, as a, let's say, 3rd language. So it is not compulsion that Hindi should be necessarily introduced. Along with that, one important data that you should know, nationally 26.02% of the population is bilingual and only 7.1% is trilingual in the country as per 2011 census. And it must have reduced in last 14 years. This particular, let's say, trilingual data must have reduced considerably, and bilingual must have increased. Okay. So yes, we should also try to see the data related to bilingual, and you can see here the data bilingualism by the state 2011 census and trilingualism. So if you see the trilingualism, it is, let's say, more in some of let's say, certain or only few states of Northeast India, like you can see Arunachal Pradesh 30%, or we can say that Chandigarh it is there 30%, or even, let's say, Haryana 28% trilingualism by the states. But you can see that most of the Hindi belt, it is having very less trilingual, let's say, population, and same with we can say that southern states. Now bilingualism, you can see that most of the western states, they have very high level of bilingualism, Gujarati, and we can say that Marathi, Gujarati and English, Marathi and English, Marathi and Hindi, or Kannada and English, Kannada and Hindi. So this let's say bilingualism is more in the country. You can see bilingual population is more, while trilingual population is less comparatively. This is the data of 2011 census that you can mention in your answer. Now ultimately, what we should understand from the student perspective, you all must have learned in the, let's say, schools 3 languages. ठीक है, शायद आपने भी पढ़ा होगा, मैंने भी of course स्कूल में 10th standard तक 3 languages पढ़ी है. In our school, I know that I have learned in my mother tongue Marathi till 4th standard. Let's say it was completely in Marathi, all the subjects. Thereafter also, let's say, in the government schools, there was no English medium for all the subjects, but later on it was introduced. And you should know that 3 languages like Marathi, English and Hindi, or Marathi, English and Sanskrit, So that third language was optional language, and depending on the availability of teachers and different schools that was taught. The same can be introduced if the students are, let's say, willing to. First thing. Okay, and where it can be introduced, of course, it should be introduced at the secondary level. Now, some of the arguments by the expert also suggest that the third language is redundant at present in the scenario of globalization. Because more and more English is being, let's say, the proficiency in English is being demanded not only at national stage but at international stage also. And somehow people or students of Tamil Nadu has benefited from that. Okay, learning two languages, and they have benefited from that, of course. So yes, all the competitive examinations like UPSC examination, it is in English. So of course they are at par in terms of competition with other, let's say, students, other aspirants. First thing. Second thing we should understand is that it is a kind of burden on the students. At present, the learning outcomes of the students are very poor. You can mention ACER report, including Tamil Nadu. Okay, including Tamil Nadu, the learning outcomes are comparatively poor, let's say, as a part of literary proficiency also, arithmetic as well as literary. So we should be focusing more on learning outcome. We should be focusing on more of, let's say, infrastructure, poor infrastructure that we have in schools. Okay, we should be focusing on quality of teaching in the classroom. We should be focusing on adequate pupil-teacher ratio, PTR. So instead of debating and, let's say, making it more of a political issue, the central government should reach out to the state government, and of course the state government, Tamil Nadu government, should also let's say remove its rigid stand and somehow try to find the amicable solution for the benefit of all the students of the state. Okay, so we should be considering the other aspects, that major issues that the education system that is, let's say, facing the problem. And in talking about the language, T.M. Krishna, who is the Carnatic vocalist, in terms of his words, what he is trying to say here is multilingualism is not just a political problem, but it is a pedagogic also. Pedagogical methods have changed over the period of time. Like for example, at primary and middle school level, activity-based learning and experiential learning should be focused. That is true. So activity-based, so it does not require the languages, right? And along with that, there are already two languages at play. That itself is a multilingualism. Okay, it is itself is a multilingualism. I do not view multilingualism in terms of language alone. It is the way of making people be diverse in feeling and in being. That means people to people connect, emotional connect, social connect, and it does not require proficiency in language to communicate or to connect emotionally, socially with the other people. Other thing, if people are connecting socially, economically and emotionally with other people having other language, automatically there is urge to learn that language and they will learn automatically. For example, a very good example you can give, people, let's say, living in Mumbai. So those coming from Gujarat, those coming from Kerala, let's Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, they will learn somehow the basic words of Marathi to, let's say, interact with the Marathi people there, so as to somehow carry out their own business there. So that means it is a feeling, feeling of connectedness. People learn languages when they forge relationships. For instance, we can't forget that cultural character and emotional connections make people learn a language. So forceful way is not the correct way of, let's say, learning a language. There should be urge from within, and yes, two languages let's say are fine, but Tamil Nadu government can help the students by introducing that option at secondary school education, the third language, wherein the people, especially, let's say, for example, if suppose in any, let's say, central government officials, families living in the Tamil Nadu, suppose they are from the Uttar Pradesh. Now, for the children of those officials learning in the Tamil Nadu school, if they want to learn Hindi language for their child, there should be option for that purpose. होना चाहिए ना, of course. They will want that their child will learn, let's say, should learn Hindi along with Tamil also. ठीक है, तो इस एंगल से हमें सोचना है. So yes, of course. So when this NEP 2020 was being drafted, the similar kind of, let's say, controversy erupted in 2019, and at present also the same thing is happening. So there should be amicable solution, political dialogue between the leaders and the center and state, let's say, we can say, governments, and there should be the final solution, so that the education system of Tamil Nadu state continues without any hassles. Fine? Okay, thank you.